On a peaceful farm, long ago, a mama duck sat patiently on her nest, waiting for her eggs to hatch. "How long must I wait for my babies?" she wondered. "I'm all alone, and no one visits me." But she knew she had to keep her eggs warm until they were ready. At last, the eggs began to crack, and one by one, 5 yellow ducklings stepped out of their shells. They shook their tiny wings and quacked happily. Mama Duck was overjoyed. "Look at all of you, you're all so cute," she exclaimed. But when Mama Duck counted her ducklings, she realized something was missing. "Oh dear," she said, "I should have 6 ducklings." She noticed one large egg still in the nest. "It looks like this one will take a bit longer," she thought, as she settled back on her nest. The next day, the big egg finally hatched, but out came a bird that didn't look like the others. He was much bigger, with dark gray feathers, and he walked with a funny wobble. "What is that?" one duckling asked. "He can't be one of us." Another duckling chimed in. "I've never seen such an ugly duckling." "How can you say such a thing?" Mama Duck scolded. "He is your brother, and he hatched from the same nest as you." The ducklings lined up to follow Mama Duck to the lake for their first swim. Each duckling took a turn jumping in, and finally the ugly duckling followed, paddling behind them. The ducklings swam together, but when they left the water to play, the ugly duckling tried to join in. "Go away," they shouted. "You're ugly, and you walk weird too." The ugly duckling didn't understand why they were so mean. He hung his head low, feeling very alone. That night, the ugly duckling made a difficult decision. He flew over the farmyard fence and landed on the other side of the lake, hoping to find a place to belong. He met 2 adult ducks and asked, "Can I stay here for a while? I have nowhere else to go." The ducks didn't care much as long as he stayed out of their way. Suddenly, a big storm rolled in. Lightning flashed and rain poured down, soaking the poor ugly duckling to the bone. He shivered in the cold wind. "If only I could find a place to get dry," he thought. In the distance, he saw a tiny light in the woods and flew toward it. The light came from a small hut. The door creaked open, and an old woman peered out. "Ah, a duck," she said, picking up the ugly duckling. "You can stay here, but only if you lay eggs." Inside the hut, the ugly duckling was met by a tomcat and a hen, who were not at all welcoming. "Who do you think you are?" they hissed. The ugly duckling knew he couldn't stay and slipped out of the door, back into the storm. He found another lake and stayed there all alone. One day, as he gazed at the water, he saw the reflection of a flock of beautiful white birds flying above. He couldn't believe his eyes. They were the most graceful creatures he had ever seen. "If only I could be like them," he sighed. Time passed, and the seasons changed. The leaves fell, and winter set in. The ugly duckling was cold and lonely. The lake began to freeze, and it was all he could do to keep the water from turning to ice around him. "I'm so tired," he thought, as the ice closed in. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a farmer found the ugly duckling struggling in the icy lake. "You poor thing," he said, lifting the bird and carrying him to his warm home. The ugly duckling stayed there for the rest of the winter, safe and warm by the fire. When spring finally arrived, the farmer took the ugly duckling back to the lake. As the young bird stretched his wings, he felt stronger than ever before. He flapped them and felt the power in his wings. He looked down at the water and saw his reflection. But this time, it wasn't an ugly gray bird staring back. It was a beautiful white swan. The other swans swam up to him. "Why are you leaving?" they asked. "Stay with us, we'll be great friends." The young swan realized he had never been an ugly duckling at all. He was a swan, just like them. With joy, he flapped his wings and took his place at the front of the flock. As they soared into the sky, he felt free and happy. "Who's an ugly duckling now?" he thought with a smile. "True beauty comes from within." and everyone has their own time to shine. Don't judge yourself or others based on appearances, as what makes you different today may be your greatest strength tomorrow.
If you enjoyed this heartwarming story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more adventure story. Leave a comment below about your favorite part of the story.